Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. Today, Blake and I talk about gas. Not the flatulence kind of gas, but gear acquisition syndrome and what to do whenever you just can't get over that gassy thing that you want so bad but you can't obtain. So let's jump into it.
Brian Wampler, it's not like you and I have been,
It feels like we've been talking for an hour.
Like an hour already? Have we been?
Yeah, just these 3 seconds here. It feels like an hour.
I know it's hard to talk to you that much.
Inside
so 3
joke
seconds just
yeah. Inside joke for those listening. We've already been talking for an hour about what we're going to talk about.
We should have just recorded it.
We probably should have started recording. Then we're like, yeah, probably should hit record now.
Yeah, we're like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, no, let's check that Facebook thread that we put in like an hour ago. Wait a second, we've already been talking for an hour. Oh, boy.
Peanut butter versus jelly. Yeah.
Peanut butter all the way.
Agreed.
All the way.
Too much sugar. Too much fake sugar. And fake sugar. That's not what I mean. Too much sugar in general. And corn syrup and jelly. You know?
I'm just not a big sweet guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a savory type of person. Just,
yeah, I'm not. I find I quit. There's a point a couple years ago. I quit eating sweets. Quit eating the junk food as much, and it's actually not appealing to me. Like I can't. And this is, and much to the detriment of most of my family. I like ice cream with hot fudge and stuff on it. Actually tastes bad to me.
It doesn't. I can see what you're saying there. It doesn't taste bad to me for sure, but I also don't really want it. Like people will go to birthday and they're like, "Hey, you want some cake?" I'm like, I don't really want that cake.
Well, I mean, when I say it tastes bad, it tastes because I don't eat sweet things a lot. It actually it tastes like eating a spoonful of sugar.
Right.
I mean, I can
teeth hurt almost.
Yeah, I can do a bite or two, but after that, I'm like, it's like drinking corn syrup. You know.
Yeah, I'm not quite to that level, but I'm almost always, and I'm pretty sure that this is not the first time I've said this. We've talked about food a lot. I talk about food more than just about anything, so I'm really sorry. People thought they turned into a guitar podcast, but I really like food. But like I would always rather have like another piece of meat or something. Like you want dessert? No, I'd rather have more of that main course.
You can't have any pudding until you eat your meat. You know, as once famously coined by the late Dr. Floyd.
It's true. It's true. But I don't want any pudding, so that's fine.
Well, you can't have any pudding until you eat your meat.
I seen that at a barbecue place, and I didn't know what it was.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a famous song that has that in it.
I figured that out later.
It's a song about public education, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The more you know. Oh, I have a thing. I almost forgot. You know Grant Wilson from Big Ear?
Yes. I do know that.
I gotta give that guy a big hug because he was talking to a guy named Ian Perkins, who plays with Brian Fallon, formerly of Gaslight Anthem, who's one of my, I'm to put it mildly, I'm a pretty big fan of their output together. They also did an album together, Ian and Brian, called Elsie, which is they called themselves the Horrible Crows at the time. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm a big fan, and Grant hooked me up to talk to Ian a little bit, and I'm going to be going to their show, me and the wife, here in a couple days. Wow. So I'm really, really, really excited.
That is pretty cool.
I'm gonna try not to fangirl too hard, but there was a time when Elsie, this is back when CDs were a thing, but Elsie was in my CD player like every time I got in the car for like 6 months, and I just was like, nope, this is what I'm gonna listen to now. So excited.
So you get to go meet the guys and everything?
We're trying to. We're actually going to try, if they have time, we're going to try to squeeze in a podcast.
So I would, here's a little pro tip. The first time you meet them, don't go, oh my God. Don't do that.
Is that
I've tried that
don't do that?
before. That makes everything really awkward after that.
Oh, okay. I will. Is this like, was that the first time you met Brad?
That was kind of like the first time I met Brad Paisley. Yeah.
Yeah. This would be similar, probably a similar vibe for me. I've been following those guys' work for a long time. So I remember the first time I saw them here in Portland, and I didn't know who they were, and they blew my mind. So we won't go into that too much, but I'm really excited, and I wanted to public thank you
That'd
to
be a lot of fun.
Grant.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
So Grant, if you're listening, thank you.
Like Grant listens to a gear podcast.
I
Grant
bet he
lives a
does.
gear podcast. You know?
That's true. He does.
He's like, you know what I need in my life while I'm, working around all this gear? I need to talk about gear while talking about gear with others.
I mean, if anybody's gonna do it, it's him.
That's true. That's
he
true.
loves gear. Well, he's kind of sort of like me to some regards. We love gear so much, we decided we gotta figure out how to work in the gear industry so we can be around it all the time.
Right, which is a little bit different than me. I mean, not that I hate gear, but I got into the gear industry because I was, instead of like trying to buy my gear, I was trying to build my gear.
Right. This. I mean, we finally did settle on the topic, sort of out of that thread in the Tone Mob Facebook group is where I posted that. I said, hey, we're going to talk and we don't know what to talk about. So I'm going to talk about barbecue if you guys don't have any other suggestions.
After 45 pictures of barbecue and ribs, we found a topic.
So Brigham, thank you for the topic suggestion. We chose yours because we felt like we hadn't really talked about that before. So what is it? You got that thread pulled up by chance?
I do, but I don't see who actually mentioned that.
Brigham Alcorn.
Oh yeah. So Brigham Alcorn. Well, if you guys don't know Brigham, he started this big university out in Utah.
Not the same one. No, this is actually what Brigham does is he does lots of things, but one of the things he does is he does a little bit of work for Benson amps. He does little solder slinging for those guys
on the side, huh? Oh, cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So when he's not professing, he's building amps.
Right.
So he asks, "What do you do to get over, quote unquote, get over not being able to lay hands on a piece of gear, especially guitars and amps?"
I know that feeling.
And he says, he follows up, "I want to hear how the quote unquote pros do it." So I don't.
Oh, I don't know who he's talking about.
I don't know. I've never got a certification that says I'm a professional, but I'll give it my best go, I suppose.
I've got a certification, but it was not a good one. So
I got a CPR certification. Would that work?
I can get the AED out. That's about all I'm certified for.
So how do you get over not being able to get your hands on a piece of gear? Like the new John Mayer PRS guitar. Everybody wanted it. Only a few can get it right now.
Let's see.
Or the new Bonamassa amp. Limited number of those made too.
I got over that one real fast. Anyway, never mind. That was not nice.
That came out really quick from you. You're harboring some hate for Mr. Bonamassa.
No, actually, I'm not. I think I for somebody who's like, what would I call myself? Not really a fan. I appreciate his playing for sure.
Just not something you dig personally.
It's not just not my thing. There's some guys that really don't like him at all, and yeah, he said some kind of weird things about pedals that we've touched about before. But
right,
I don't. Some guys really don't like Joe Bonamassa, and I'm just like, he's fine. He's got cool gear, whatever.
He's got a lot of guitars and amps.
He's got a lot of sweet guitars and amps, and hey,
to each his own.
More power to you.
Teach his own. Some people are vegans, some people are meatitarians. I made that word up, and I like them both. Sometimes. So
sometimes
I like vegetables and the meats sometimes. Anyways, so what do you, Blake, do to get over not being able to lay hands on a piece of gear?
So yeah, usually that would be because it's too expensive, or they didn't make very many of them, or whatever the case may be. yeah, I don't really get over it, but I do sometimes. Like, it's like, okay, I really really want. I've wanted this for years, and I still haven't got one yet. Mostly because it's hard for me to justify the cost. But I've always wanted a vintage Jazzmaster, um, and I all the ones I've played have been amazing. But it's just like, I can't quite justify, for me, dropping that kind of scratch.
Right.
Even though I really really want it. So for me, what I'm gonna do, I think I haven't decided yet, but I think I might, hit up one of the smaller builders and be like, I've always wanted a vintage Jazzy. Uh, Maybe you make me one instead. That way, I get to support somebody in the community, and get kind of have your cake and eat it too situation. Maybe I won't be worth the same amount. It won't be the exact same thing, but I think it'll scratch that itch for me.
Right.
Basically, if it's like, if it comes down to money or unobtainium or whatever the case may be, I'll find a substitute that gets me, 85% of the way there, because you can almost always find something that gets you real close and will probably most likely scratch that itch for you.
So I'm a different breed. Yeah, I remember
We
having
know.
I'm a, I remember having a conversation with Travis Feaster when he worked
Mm-hmm.
for me years ago, and he, I, I was explaining to him, kind of how everything came about,
Mm-hmm.
and just like I was with the whole lusting for gear thing. There was a point in time where I would, I wanted a plexi sound. I was lusting for this sound of a cranked plexi through my clean Fender Hot Rod Deluxe,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't really find the sound that I wanted. So I learned how to build pedals, and I made one.
Right.
um, and what I learned about that entire process, after doing that several times with several different pedals, building things that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
what I learned is, and this is going to be complete, like you people that love the chase for gear, the chasing of the tones. This is where you're probably going to unsubscribe. And so before you go, I love you. I'm sorry. Please don't go. We'll still talk about gear. But what I learned about myself, anyways, is that the chase for gear, the chase for it, is generally sweeter than actually getting it. Once you get it, it's like, when you get a new toy at Christmas as a kid, you're like, oh, my life will be complete if I just get this new Xbox game or whatever,
Right.
this new gadget, this new this or that. And then once you get it, after about a month, you're like, it's okay, it's cool, it's all right. But you know what I really want's this other thing. If I could just have that, then my life will be complete. And the truth is, like, those things never satisfy as much as what you think they will. Um,
I, that's with everything though.
that
It
is
doesn't
with
matter whether
the
it's gear,
yeah,
whether it's a vacation you've been really wanting to go on, or if it's a car you always wanted. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, once you've have it for a little while, don't get me wrong, like, you'll still really like it and really, but like, the anticipation is almost part of the product sometimes, I think.
yes. But so realizing that has actually ruined my lust for gear. It just has. I realized that it's not going to be near as cool as what I'm hoping it's going to be. So, for an example, I wanted a Paul Reed Smith guitar. I like Paul. Paul's a funny guy, fantastic guy. And I'm like, hey, Paul, how much for one of them fancy guitars you got? He told me, and I'm like, oh, no thanks. Okay. That just, I mean, that's great. I'm just like, what can I do with $4,000? Yep. It's not buying a guitar.
Mhm.
um, and so, I mean, I do have some guitars that are really nice, like my Whitfield guitars, but,
Mhm.
and I love them. I don't want to sell them, but I probably, I'm done buying guitars. I think I'm
He's
done.
done.
I think
He's
I'm
done
done.
buying guitars.
I
You're
think I'm
not
done.
done.
I mean, but with that said, I did buy a new pedal this morning, something that I don't need at all, and I bought it because I just wanted it. More kind of for nostalgia, this nostalgia slash what could I creatively do with it? I bought a Boss OD2 on eBay, and
See, well, see,
it's like
I don't
15
think
bucks.
you haven't totally lost it.
Not totally, but it's not. I'm not buying. I don't want it because I'm expecting it to give me this certain type of tone that I can't get anywhere else. I'm buying it because I want to tear it apart and see what else I can do with it. You know,
Hmm.
um, like that. That's fun to me rather than I wonder if I could sound like John Mayer if I buy the new PRS. I don't really look at things that way at all. And a common question we get is, how do I set up the Paisley drive to sound like Brad? And I'm like, all right, put all the knobs at noon. Now, go watch every YouTube video you can of Brad playing solos and learn how to nail his phrasing, his vibrato, his touch, everything that you possibly can. Learn that first, then come back to the pedal and you'll sound like Brad Paisley.
It's true. It is true. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum at this point. Like, you're never gonna get. You're always gonna sound like you, kind of regardless of what you're using.
Yes.
That said, though, and I was about to say, I don't really do that. I don't really go, oh, I want that because this guy uses it. But then I backtrack. I do. I just do it with less commonly known artists or not that I'm some sort of like hipster and I only listen to weird esoteric things. It's just that I don't like go, I need that Van Halen tone. I love the Van Halen tone, but I'm not personally chasing it.
Yeah.
Kind of the go-tos I don't necessarily think of, but I was about to say I don't do that, but then I looked across the room and I remember like 6-8 months ago I told you I got that Sun Beta lead.
Yep.
I bought that because I wanted to try to sound like Red Fang. So I guess I do. Well, I do that. It's just not with. I don't think of it that way sometimes.
Well, that's because you're not chasing the John Mayer stuff.
No,
and there's nothing against John at all. I mean, he's probably a wonderful human being, but I really don't have anything that I can't get over. Like there is not one piece of anything that I could buy. I'm trying to think of like outside of guitars in general. Like there is nothing I could buy that would make me happy. Nothing. I don't. There's not unless I could buy peace of mind knowing that my family would always be safe and healthy. That's if I could buy that. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There isn't any. There's things that I want. Don't get me wrong. I still get the. I'm a gear nerd, and I'm gonna probably always be a gear nerd. There's always something that I would like, but I don't view it as it making my life infinitely better. I just like I want that thing, and if it ever makes sense that I'm able to acquire that thing, I'm gonna do it. But there isn't an object that I personally think that's gonna make me happy. Like that's going to like they say, money can't buy happiness.
Right.
Well, what I will say though, as far as spending money to get the maximum enjoyment out of things, I would say save your money and spend it on experiences. And maybe that's a guitar experience. Maybe that's going to a concert or whatever.
Right.
But like I think the experiences, if you're talking about dollars per drop of happiness or however you want to measure it, experiences are far more valuable because they're not over once they're over. You remember them and you reflect about the time and you're like, man, that was cool that I got to do that thing.
Right.
I just think that's almost always a better, as far as just, you're playing around money. If you have playing around money, it's almost always better spent doing something with people that you enjoy doing things with.
Well, I totally agree. And to me, gear is like a hammer or a screwdriver. uh, I know that sounds really weird, but like, so I'm looking at my amps in the room. Every one of those were purchased because it was a tool of some sort. Um, and I think pedals that like Carl Verheyen, for example, um, he's super good guy, super great player, and the times that I've seen him at different NAMM shows or Sweetwater or wherever it's been, the times that he's like said, "Oh man, that's a cool fuzz," or that's a cool echo. He's not doing it like I've got to have this echo. He's looking at it like, "Huh, that gives me a sound that I could use in this way." You know what I mean? I could use it
Mm-hmm.
for this different purpose. So it's kind of like going to the hardware store to pick out a hammer that you need for your bathroom remodel project. I mean, the end goal is like you want the bathroom done. The end goal is you want the song created or you want the sound in the band, and it could be done a million different ways. So
Yeah,
I just don't look at gear like as the thing that I can't get over. I don't look at anything that way. Uh, what is
I'm.
that is a
I
very
mean, like,
coming having a company that makes, you know, uh, albeit fairly expensive pedals.
mhm.
That's probably a weird thing for me to say. I know. Um,
But it's not though. It's not really because you've been in it for a long time and you've kind of got to see. Not that you've seen everything, but you've seen a lot of things, and you know what you like and you know what you don't like,
I,
and you have the ability and the connections to get. If you really want something, you can get just about whatever.
yeah,
Um,
I remember the time that I first played through a cranked plexi. It didn't sound anything like what I thought it would. Nothing.
Well,
Uh,
and see, and that is the other side of the equation. Like we are extremely fortunate, and let's not, you know, forget about that we've been able to do these things. Remember when you couldn't?
oh yeah, that's what created the plexi drive. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
So like that, I think that he's probably talking more about that feeling.
Yeah,
Like,
that feeling like I would say enjoy that. Like that makes life interesting, you know, because the last thing you want is to well, here, let me think of a different way to put it. So you know as well as I do that there are people in the world who are fantastically wealthy. They have money to do whatever they want, and yet they're the most miserable people. Not
mm-hmm,
everyone, but some of them. Some of them who have fought tooth and nail and stepped on this person to get their, you know, get another buck, get another dollar, and bulldozing everybody in their way to get there. Sometimes, many times, when that person gets to the top and they look at the path of destruction behind them, and they're like, "What else now? What's left? What can I achieve now? What can I do now?
mm-hmm,
what can I get now with this money that I have?"
right.
And it's I know musicians that are kind of the same way that have they thought that fame was going to be a certain way, and now that they've achieved fame, they're just like, ah, it's okay. I kind of dug it more whenever I was just playing in a small club, though. The hustle to get here was what was fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really weird.
Yeah,
I have a
it's
really
interesting.
weird take on fame. You know,
Well, as far as like legit fame, like I don't. Ugh. No, thank you. Like I just think that would be. I can see why certain people would really like enjoy that and like want to try to achieve something like that. Yeah, that is a whole level of being that I never found appealing. Uh, it just seems like I don't know. I like being able to go to the store.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like I like I like I like I like hanging out with guys in the community and like nerding out over things because I haven't really lost that. I still really just enjoy. I mean, like I've told you, like what do I do every night? I like grab a whole bunch of different pedals and make like try to make new sounds with them. It's I haven't lost that. That still is like how I chill out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see them, yeah, I kind of do see them as tools a little more than I used to, but I'm still passionate about it.
See, it's funny. One of the things I've been doing lately is I found this YouTube channel. It has these fantastic backing tracks. It's on YouTube. It's called My Darn. What is it called? My Darn Jam Tracks. I think maybe it's My Darn Backing Tracks. Oh, I don't know. I remember that.
Put it in the show notes.
I'll have
Look
to
it
put
up.
it in the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, and there's all different kinds of. There's just basically jam tracks that you play over, and of all different types. And so I've gotten a lot of enjoyment just out of sitting there, plugging through an amp or maybe a pedal or two or whatever, and just ripping out some sweet blues licks, man. You know, maybe
Mm-hmm.
picking a chicken or two every now and then, and that's been pretty enjoyable for me here lately. But I go through moments and periods as well where, a month or two ago I was digging through just mounds and piles of impulse responses, hundreds and hundreds of them.
You and your IRs, you just love
Yes,
them things.
I still have. So I bought all the Own Hammer stuff.
All of it?
All of it.
Okay.
Which is, I don't even know how many. I bet there's got to be close to 1,000 different IRs in there. I haven't even gone through them all yet. I'm still working.
See, this
on
is
it.
almost just. See, hold on. Now we got to back up everything. Hold on. Hold it on.
Don't you dare call me a hypocrite, mister.
You still do. You still nerd out on the gear. It's just a different kind.
Yeah, I guess.
If you just bought 1,000 IRs because you really wanted to try them out, you're still gear nerding out.
I guess I do. I guess I do.
I'm calling you out, Wampler. That's kind of funny. See,
but that's a business. It's a tool. It's a fun tool.
Yeah. So is my Les Paul Custom. I was like, it's okay. It's a business expense. It's fine. It's a business expense I've wanted since I was 13, but it's still a business expense.
You caught me. Ah.
All Brian Wampler says he's not a gear nerd. Just kidding.
I stand corrected.
Well, I don't really lust after anything anymore, except I spent the whole last 2 months obsessing over IRs.
Oh.
You dog, you still have the bug.
I guess I do. It just changes a lot. Maybe I'm just, wow, this is like therapy for me. I'm actually getting knowing myself a little better.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what I do. I don't know if you know that. I'm a therapist.
Yeah, which makes sense. So this is why when Jake Steffes, my partner in crime in creating DSP effects, yeah. So I'm like, Jake, here's what I'm going for. I want this kind of sound, and the delays are doing this, and the reverbs are doing this, and it's got this going on, and this. And he's like, I got you, bro. And he'll literally make a plugin for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he'll code a plugin, send it to me. I load it into Logic, run my guitar into it, run that out to the amp if I want. And then I'm like, cool, man. But I think what we need to do is at 3.9K, we need to drop that down about 3 decibels. You know what I mean? Like I'll nerd out with that aspect of it. Golly, yeah, I guess I do. It's just rather than buying a pedal, I'm looking at how do I create this?
It's just a different kind. I do think you still have it, because I know you well enough at this point that if you didn't care about it, you would be doing something else. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that you could be good at, and maybe make more money or whatever, whatever it is. But I think if you didn't at least enjoy it a little bit, but sometimes maybe it's just hard for you to see the forest for the trees. You're like you're so deep into it, so much deeper than most people. You got to pop your head out once in a while and go, this stuff is actually really cool.
You know what's weird? I've told people before, when your hobby becomes your business, it changes everything. Like it's so hard to like separate, am I playing or am I working? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just an odd, it's very odd. And sometimes the playing kind of becomes work in a way where you're like, oh my God, I gotta test these 30 prototypes. You know?
Mm.
And then like I did this the other day, I had several different prototypes I was testing. And but our process, like I have this big long checklist of things I'm testing for. So it's, I mean, yeah, there is some turning it on and ripping out some, Angus Young lick or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also the check to make sure this happens and this happens and this happens, and the LED isn't too bright, and you know what I mean, like all this other, like there's all these things to check for, and it so that becomes work. And then I started thinking like, wait a minute. So I like stopped myself. I'm like, hold on, dude. You're complaining because you have to test 10 guitar pedals.
Like most people would be excited to
Right.
test 10
Like,
guitar pedals.
get a grip on your life, man. Get a grip.
Well, I've had this conversation with, well, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I have told this to some other people that were kind of complaining. And I don't get me wrong, like there's always things that you can people always find a way to complain about some things.
Yeah.
It must be just like a human nature thing, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying this as a negative against anybody at all, because I do it too, and my wife has to say the same thing to me. So what I do when I find myself being annoyed by something in the day-to-day business, I have to stop and think, yeah, but remember that time when you was like working for the concrete pumping outfit and you had to like carry all those big hoses up and down that huge canyon, and you were like just, you came home just completely filthy and tired, and you were so mad that you had to do that day because it was really lousy. That was hard work. This isn't work, so shut up.
Right.
You
got to look at your little Excel spreadsheet. Big deal. Get over it.
Yeah, it's like do that, and then you can go play fuzz. And like or whatever. It's try to recognize how we need to recognize how fortunate we are to be able to be doing the things that we're doing now. And I think that can be hard sometimes when you're like head down trying to get things done. But like really, for everybody that's listening to this, it's like that's why we get to do what we do, and I'm super thankful for it. And I know you are too.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes it's just hard to. Sometimes it's hard. You have to actively go, oh yeah, that's right. It's all about these people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of rambled there, but basically,
no.
I guess
Yeah.
it was a big thank you to everybody listening. Really.
Yeah, it really is. It actually, I have a whole new insight into myself. Huh. I need meditation time now.
Well, we're about 30 minutes in. Well, actually, we're an hour and 30 minutes in, but we're
30 recorded minutes in.
Yes. This kind of took a weird turn, though, didn't it? I'm almost going, Don't take everything I said to heart on this episode, folks, because my brain did a lot of loops, and I'm not even sure what I said.
Oh, I'm sure I'll end up on somebody's video talking about something or other. Yeah, heard talk of some Facebook thread where like, Wampler says he doesn't like guitar pedals anymore. That's not what I'm saying, man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I need to find another brand of IRs because I bought them all. I bought them all off of the internet. Every one of them.
Wow. You really went deep.
Oh.
All right, man. Well,
cool. That's a good place to end this for this week.
Yep. Yet another ramble in the box.
Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really hope you enjoy these episodes. If you have any comments or questions, you can email podcast@wamplerpedals.com. And hey, and also those who listened to the last episode or two, I believe I was talking about modifications. Still have some room open. I think we're about 2 or 3 weeks out as this is recorded on stuff. So thank you to those that have sent their pedal in. And if you have any more questions, just email that podcast at podcast@wamplerpedals.com with your modification question. Glad to work with you on it. So thanks for listening. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.